Well, here we are at the beautiful and natural Fojnica River. And those of you who know me know what I'm about to say, which is that one of those adjectives is incorrect. So let's look at this river. We have a very beautiful river, very slow moving. It goes through the Bosnian Pyramid Complex in quite a slow, placid way. Very placid river. There are no rapids here. There's no whitewater rafting on the Fojnica River. It's just a very mild river that runs throughout the Bosnian Pyramid Complex, and it goes from, if you follow it this way, it goes up to Kiseljak. And if you follow it this way, it goes down, as you can see, and meets the Bosna River, which comes in over there, and they both go down together as the Bosna River. But this is the Fojnica here, and if you follow it south and then west past Zagorice, where I've done a couple of videos, one's called Finding the Pyramid of Remembering, one's called Finding the Pyramid of Solitude. This river runs through there, then it goes to Kiseljak, which is famous for its spring water. And let me tell you, hello, and let me tell you, this river is built. All the structures from here to Kiseljak are artificial. They are either clay and concrete and clay stone, or clay and clay stone, or concrete. The concrete begins after a little town called Buci, which is only about 3 kilometers, 2.5 kilometers south of here. Before that, it's clay and clay stone, and then in the Bosnian Pyramid Complex itself, which is here, all around us, we have different structures built of different materials. The Pyramid of the Moon, which is up there, it's hard to see from here, is clay and clay stone, artificial clay stone that they baked and textured. And the Pyramid of the Sun is clay, concrete, and clay stone. And in the clay there are different materials depending on the structure, and we have to analyze those and get those out to you. So I'm going to explore the riverbed today, and this is August 5th, 2015. This is Jock Doubleday reporting for the Archaeological Park Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun Foundation, a Bosnian NGO nonprofit started by the discoverer of the Bosnian Pyramid Complex, Dr. Semir Osmanagic, who discovered the pyramids here in Visoko back in April of 2005. Okay. If this pyramid complex was in fact created, what they estimate is 34,000 years ago, or even more, if it was even more ancient, then we can say that the riverbed, if it also was built, and I believe it was, and we're going to find out for sure today, and I can guarantee you we're going to find out one way or the other, because I'm going to get in it. Then we can say that the riverbed is also 34,000 years, an estimated 34,000 years old, or as old as the pyramid complex is, however old that is. I mean, maybe it's 60,000 years old, maybe it's 80,000 years old, but we have some organic material that we've tested, and we have come to the conclusion that the Pyramid of the Sun is approximately 34,000 years old. So let's get into the river, and we're going to go downstream. Sorry, not downstream, but down. We're going to go south around that bend across from a soccer field, and it's going to be about a 1.5 mile walk. So I'll check in with you then. Okay. Well, I've never seen this particular place before, but I will tell you, I sort of stumbled on it hoping to find a road that would take me up to another location further upstream, further south, that has similar outcroppings, but I've never seen this up close. I've never seen this. So this is today, and it's by chance, and there's always good synchronicity here in the pyramid complex. Now, what do we see here? Well, my friends, we see what we knew had to be here, a built riverbed. And you say, but this could be natural. Really? This could be natural. This looks like clay stone. We'll have to analyze it. This looks like clay stone slabs, layered. Or you could just say clay layered, but it's not soft clay like between the concrete on the Pyramid of the Sun. It is hardened clay, so it's something like hardened clay, but it's also like when they baked it, what they must have done was it was still soft to some degree so that it would stick to the next layer. So this layer was still soft and this layer was still soft, and then they stuck together because they were hardening together, but each layer was hardened in itself also. And you say, why would they build a riverbed? Well, since they built all these structures, there's Osceola Hill up there. They built that. We know that from Trek to Osceola Hill, O-S-I-J-E-L-A. That video shows you everything you need to know about that. And since we know that they built all the structures along this river, why wouldn't they also build the river? In other words, maybe their whole intention in creating this pyramid complex was to, or the key to the pyramids as energy machines was the river. And they needed a river that was manageable, that wasn't going to be steep and flooding and, you know, rushing and roaring and taking boulders down and taking out their pyramids. They needed it to be placid, slow moving. It's a theory. And here we have this placid, slow moving river that clearly is built. And you say, well, you can't really know that for sure, but actually you can. Let's look at the angle of this, and we're going to see this angle over and over and over, because I've seen this before from a distance on the Bosnia River, where the angle is, it's hard to describe in words what this angle is because there's so many angles going on, but let's talk about the angle in relation to the flow of the water, which I think is the key. So they have, you would think if we today did this, we would build these probably straight on to the river or fully perpendicular to the river flow. Because you'd think that the river would get in, as the river flows down, it would get in these angles and perturb and get under and then just take out all this built material. But the ancients knew what they were doing. You can see that it's flat here for a while, right? Flat, flat, flat. If you look at the tops of these layers, and then suddenly it goes steeply down. Boom, down, down, down. So this is like they channeled it. So the channel is suddenly down there. So it's pretty deep there. But you can tell that the river has different depths, because where we were before, the river was much more shallow than this, probably half as shallow as it is here in its deepest part. So right here, where it's thin, where it's narrow, they channeled it. Downstream where we were before, they didn't have to channel it. It's flat. It's all flat all across. But here we're fortunate enough to see the building, and you say, well, but still we don't know for sure that it's built. But look at the angle over there. We have this incredible we know that it's engineered because we can see there's an angle to the river flow. It's always an angle. It's never straight on and it's never perpendicular. It's always an angle toward it. And it's also built in. It's angling in. So if we look at the angle also of each slab, we see that it's like this, like this, like this, and same over there. And same with the pyramids. If this was a pyramid and we were looking and we found this, we'd know that the pyramid face was here because it's angled in, it's angled down basically. It's angled down like that, and that makes for a strong structure. Now, why did they angle it down? Why did they angle it down at this particular angle on the Fojnica River? Unknown. What we need to do is get some geologists out here who actually know what they're doing, not graduates from Yale probably, because we know that Robert Schoch has already what's the word? Shamed the Yale geology department by coming out of there with scandalous nonsense. So a geologist who actually knows what they're doing, whether they have a PhD or not, to tell us what these angles are, what this stuff is made of, and give us a full analysis of this built riverbed. I promised you that we would find out if this river is built. I thought I was going to have to go into the water today to discover that. I thought I was going to have to dig in the water with my bare hands while I'm standing there hoping the camera doesn't get wet. But in fact, here we are, much more easily, simply walking along an incredibly, what's the word? An incredibly evocative set of clay layers that really speaks strongly about the engineering know-how of the ancients. Here's a fisherman fishing along the stream that he undoubtedly believes is a natural stream. Why wouldn't you? But we know it isn't. And here's more proof. Here is, in fact, ultimate proof, if you didn't believe it before. At the same inclined layer, at the same inclined slope, we have these baked stones. And I'm just going to get a photo. That's my first photo today, but you know, these are baked stones. I've never seen these before. I've been here for over a year. I didn't see these because I didn't come down to this particular location. But my friends, we have discovered what anyone who's been here for a year already knows, that the riverbed is built. And we have discovered that how? By doing what Robert Jock does and sitting in his office and surmising? No. We have discovered it by coming out into the field and actually documenting what we find. And then going, using our intuition to drive us to do this in the beginning. So there is intuition involved. That's why I'm out here, because my intuition was that it was built. But of course, that's really, intuition is really extuition, isn't it? Because it's not a feeling from inside with no genesis from outside. The reason I'm here today is because, having been here for so long, and knowing that all the structures along the Fojnica are built, it made sense that the Fojnica would be built too. So it's an extuition. It's using data from the outside, knowing that, having climbed the hills from here to Kislyak, knowing that they're concrete, ancient concrete, it made sense that this would also be built. Now, I thought this would be concrete, but it's not. It's clay layers. And what the proportions of clay and sandstone and other minerals are, we will determine. I'm going to take a sample and I'm going to get it on video. I'm going to keep walking this way. Wow, look at this big plate. Look at that thing. Yeah. So the ancients weren't perfect. That undoubtedly came off of their riverbed. But then again, we can't say undoubtedly. It's that's a strong opinion that I have, but could have been a construction stone from Mosiela Hill. Or from Pyramid of the Moon, which is also upstream. Let's keep walking and see what we discover. I mean, this looks totally natural, right? As we walk along, it looks like any stream, and then we start to discover things like this, which is interesting. It's inclined, also inclined, a different material, and then we see the same exact layering that we did before. But let's look over here. Now we have concrete on the side here. So it looks like they had concrete and then to a point, and you can see the concrete keeps going there. Interesting. And then at the same angle, at this angle, you see the clay. So it goes from concrete to clay. And here the concrete keeps going here, here. Nothing fancy about this concrete, but the clay layers are pretty fancy for the ancients because they're pretty detailed in comparison with the concrete. But let's keep walking, let's see what we find. Concrete, ancient concrete, that's what it is. I wonder how many people have come along here to have a relaxing day at the river and never thought anything like, oh, this must be built by the ancients. There's the clay layers. I don't know if you can see through the reflection. Clay layers, and then it turns into concrete. Because you can see that the concrete is up there and the clay layers are below it. Very interesting. So we can get that. Okay, what else can we find? I mean, they're always changing their, they always seem to be changing their game plan as far as materials go. It's not like the Greeks and the Romans where they just said, we're going to do marble today, all day. It's not like that. They said, we're going to do some clay here, we're going to do some concrete here, we're going to do some other kind of interesting mudcrete, clay, mudstone, claystone, mudstone, concrete mixture, some secret recipe. We're going to heat it up. So yeah, then we can still see this incredible, oh, here's some more. I'm just walking along, I've never been here before, but look at this. We've got a tree root trying to grow into and succeeding into this beautiful ancient riverbed structure work. Yeah. And that's what that is, my friends. It's so easy to find evidence of the ancients here. All you have to do is open your eyes, and then if you want, you can turn on a video camera and let someone else know what's happening. Built riverbed structure, inclined in, and this is a different sort of feel to it. It's not straight along here, it's serrated, so that's a little bit different. Interesting. But also inclined, same angle as before, same angle as all that stuff out there. You can see more of it. You can see that inclination to the left and the angle toward the flow of the river. And here we have the same thing. See if we can get past that reflection. Let's see, yeah. You can see it. Hopefully it's visible. And again here, you can see it. Incredible that they built this river. But it does make sense. It makes absolute perfect sense. And there's probably only one man who will on the planet who will deny that this river is built when I publish this. And you know who that is. And there's another layer right below that layer. So we have the layers, the clear layers. And you can see them here too. You can see them just fine. And then layers below that, right? And then layers below that. All inclined, going down, down, down. And you can see from the ripples, the same thing. They're all the inclination of the clay stone. Let's go over here. I've never been here before, let me reiterate. This is not staged exploration. I'm stepping on layered clay that the ancients put here to create a river. They said, we're going to create a river because we don't want to create pyramids that then get perturbed by a river. the natural river. We're going to create a river that is slow moving. This is my speculation, that we have controlled the course of, and maybe they have put the river over some energy lines as part of as an integral part of the energy grid that exists on the planet. And look at this. Wow, this is incredible. This is really amazing. This shows the built structure, wow, all the way up of this hill. You can see the clay layers, and they get steeper and steeper, it looks like. Well, it's hard to tell if the angle gets steeper. It might just be an illusion. It might just be a feeling of steepness because we have a lot exposed here, so we can see a lot. But look at that layering. It's absolutely beautiful. Much reminiscent of the KTK tunnel exploration, where we saw that KTK is a tunnel that was left as an empty space in a built hill. It wasn't dug out of a hill. It was just an empty space that was left after the ancients created a clay hill. So who's going to spend energy to create an entire hill and then leave a tunnel in it? The ancients. And that's just one hill. And that's connected to Osceola Hill right up here. So KTK tunnels down there a ways. So yeah, we just keep going and we keep finding exactly the same thing. The clay layers. We keep finding them. There they are. Clay layers. Clay layers. Clay layers. And I'm just going to get a shot looking back at the clay layers and maybe even a close-up of some clay layers. And of course we see the exact same thing, inclined, and they are also angled toward the flow, angled not perpendicular to or parallel to the flow, but at an angle to the flow of the river. So we have that consistency. Now I might slip here, and that would be bad. Whoa! Whoa, whoa, whoa! Okay. Oh, that was a little bit slippery. Okay. Okay, that's good, that's good. All right. Same thing. So, same thing, and there's that serrated edge. There's that serrated edge. Just had a spider on me. That we saw before. Inclined in. Serrated edge. Inclined in to the river. Inclined in. So we know that the Fojnica is built. Absolutely no doubt. And that's good to know. Let's see if we can get below the water with our camera here and get a shot of that, or maybe not, I don't know. See if that works. Take this shot. I like to document in real time, even though you might get bored, because the scientists, of which most of you can probably call yourselves scientists, will want the real-time video, because then they can know how far I've traveled. You know, there's no editing that can fool the audience of the video into thinking one thing when it's actually another. So I always go real time, and I try to fill it with my rambling nonsense to keep you amused, if the images aren't keeping you amused, because I know you have other things to do than listen to this video. But I think real time is important because it gives a real a true feel for how much time has gone by, how much distance has been traveled, and so we can't use editing to fool anybody, not that we would. Okay, so we're gonna call it good for now. That was the quickest I thought I was going to spend hours in the river digging, so this was the quickest, fastest, bestest, most conclusive, dare I say easiest. I shouldn't say easiest before I get out of here, because I still have to go through this, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. And we've got ancient structures and ancient clay material all over the place. Nothing here is fully natural. The trees are natural. They weren't put here by the ancients. But the riverbed is built. The water itself, well, we could say that that's natural, but then again, what does that mean? If you do some digging on the internets or in the books out there by the ancient civilizations researchers, you can find that there was a planet in what is called the asteroid belt, but it's not an asteroid belt. It's an exploded planet region around the sun. That the planet being named Tiamat, T-I-A-M-A-T, by some researchers. And if that planet did explode, and if it was a water-bearing planet, as is hypothesized, then the water from that planet could have fallen to Earth, and it might have fallen to Earth as 40 days and 40 nights of rain. In which case, this water isn't even from Earth, or some of the water here is not even from Earth. Of course, that doesn't mean it's not natural, it just means it's from another planet. And presumably, if it was on another planet at one time, then that water was natural on that planet, and not, you know, spookily combusted out of nowhere by the ancients. But we don't know for sure. What we do know for sure is that this is a built riverbed. This is Jock Doubleday reporting for the Archaeological Park Foundation here in the Bosnian Pyramid Complex, discovered by Dr. Semir Osmanagic back in April 2005. And fought against tooth and nail by the archaeological orthodoxy in academia. And I can promise you they still believe that this is natural hills out here and not pyramids, because I've emailed 1,300 of them from my book Paradigm Shift, and of the 2% who replied, thanks a lot, 90% of them said, we believe Robert Schoch from our armchairs. We didn't go there. We believe that Robert Schoch is correct in saying that this is nonsense and that Dr. Semir Osmanagic is a huckster. Have a scientific day. So we're back here to where we came down. There's the fishermen, and we can see the built nature of this hill. So it goes steeply up here. It's not quite vertical, but super steep. And we can see the clay layers. So this whole hill is built, and everything is built. So far, everything I've looked at in the Bosnian Pyramid Complex is built. Built, built, built. All built. Terraformed, you could say, but really it's built. It's not like they came in and changed the shape of something, modified the shape of a hill. They built hills. They built pyramids. Where'd they get all the clay? I don't know. I do not know. I do not know, my friends. I'm just taking some photos. Puno riba. Puno riba.
Da.
Dobro.
Dobra.
Fantastično. Yeah. Yeah, and you can, so we haven't actually gone down this way yet. There's a nice restaurant up here. But we haven't gone this way yet. But it looks like we're going to find just what we found before, which is more inclined clay, more inclined clay, and it keeps going. Let's keep walking. Here we are. Might as well keep going. If you want to catch good fish, you come down here, it looks like. That's a good sized trout that guy caught in no time at all. Inclined clay at an angle to the flow of the river.
Inclined clay at an angle to the flow of the river. Inclined into the river and at an angle to the flow of the river. Thank you, ancients. Wonder what this was. Oh, it's probably a modern hole for a fishing pole or something. Yeah. Hard to know. Built structure. Inclined into the river. Obviously this concrete wall is modern. And they built it on top of structural riverbed clay. Or riverbank. We could call this a riverbank. And then the riverbed is, you can see it goes steeply down. So it's kind of level here. And then suddenly it goes steeply down. Boom. So riverbed is down there. Same angle. So this feature, same clay layering. This feature right here is at an angle to the flow. So perpendicular to the flow is about like that. Parallel to the flow would be like that. But this is at an angle. It's about a 45. And look at that clay. Wow. Look at that. Pretty serious. They're not messing around. Same angle. It's not perpendicular or parallel to the flow. It's cutting across the flow. So they're stepping down here for some reason. Stepping down, stepping down, stepping down. So here we have the ancients doing something that I didn't expect, which is to step down, step down, step down. I thought they would have fully controlled the placid flow of the water, but the assumption was that they wanted it fully placid, and maybe they didn't want it fully placid. Maybe what they really wanted was to have steps to create negative ions and other movement. So maybe that's what they wanted. Or maybe they were just dealing with a structural problem and they needed to step down here. Who knows? But here they're stepping down. Big step. Another big step there. And another big step. So then the second one's there. Right? And then the third one's down there. 3 big steps. Because this could have been an agglomeration, this wall could have been ancient and modern, we don't know. But it's resting on a strong foundation of, you guessed it, ancient clay. I'm just going to take photos now. So this is our first clearly textured, we're downstream a bit now. This is clearly reminiscent of the texturing on the construction stones on the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon and on Vratnica, and near the bottom, or at the lower excavation point on the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, you got this incredible deep texturing that the ancients did. Wow. Because we know these are artificially laid, without any doubt. And we know that they baked these, without any doubt. And we know that in baking them, they textured them. That's what they did. This is not some kind of natural water flow erosion over millions of years, or over thousands of years. This is not water flow ripples. That's not ripples, that's texturing. This is ancient clay stone baker texturing. Absolutely fantastic stuff. You can see how deep the valleys go and how high the hills are. It's incredible. Why are they doing this? Why not just let them be flat? Wow, look at this texturing. Whoa, that is serious. That's deep. Huge. Huge plates. Huge structural plates. Look at these. Clay stone step down, not natural. Again, the flow of the water, if we look at the angle, perpendicular would be like that. This is angled to the flow for some reason. Wow. Amazing. All those layers, all those layers. And then we see the hill itself has the clay layers. Incline down. So from this lovely restaurant here on the side of the Fojnica River, we get a really good view of what's happening. And so we see that I was wrong when I said that it's always angled at an angle to the flow, because here the flow, we can see on this other side that it begins to be perpendicular to the flow. Right there. So this stuff's all pretty much perpendicular to the flow, to one degree or another. But interestingly, there's a channel that they made right there. And then the clay starts again, it comes up again. Let's see, where is it? Sorry, there it is. So the channel, so that the perpendicular clay, the clay perpendicular to the flow is there. And then there's this channel, and then coming up again is this angled clay, it's angled to the flow. So you got the angle and then you've got the perpendicular on the left. All this is angled to the flow, all this is angled to the flow. All this is angled to the flow. And of course that is angled to the flow. But they made that little channel, so they weren't shy about about their angle being perpendicular in some cases, and even over there it looks like it's pretty perpendicular too. Look at that, underneath the water. Let's see if we can see that. Where is the tree there? So that's basically perpendicular, that's basically perpendicular there, and then suddenly it angles steeply or sharply. But it's interesting. So, but we see the clay layers. We see the clay layers. Amazing. Not natural, okay? Don't write me and say it's natural, okay? So I'm gonna make another video tomorrow or the next day that deals with the Bosnia River also being built, because I've seen exactly the same clay layer structuring from a distance in the Bosnia River, so I know that it's also built. And so that what that means is they didn't just build a river here, they built a river meeting point with two rivers, and that is centered in the heart of Visoko. Now the reason that Visoko sprung up around two rivers is because rivers bring productivity in many ways, as we know. Therefore, we can assume that human beings centering themselves around two rivers joining has a basis in the ancient engineering, in that they also wanted two rivers to join for their purposes, which were not necessarily our purposes.